Alrighty, y'all, we're trying out something new today. Just to give a little backstory on myself, I've been playing tabletop role-playing games for about 15 years at this point in time, 16 years. I've been a DM for about 7 of those years. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna read some D&D horror stories on Reddit. I got the top off of RPG horror stories. It's top of this week. Oh, that sucks. Oh, that really sucks. Oh, that's a lot of history. That's a lot of books. Here we go. Incel DM makes offensive NPCs out of spite. Alright, we're jumping right into it. Cool. Got it. So, I was playing at a game shop with a fairly large group a couple years ago. Our DM seemed nice in the beginning. He was a bit snobbish in a quirky nerd kind of way, but I liked him and his DMing skill. Okay, so it doesn't matter if it's snobbish in a quirky, nerdy kind of way. That's red flag number 1. That's for me anyway. I remember playing as a satyr rogue in this campaign. We had already gone through the town intro and went into the forest and went through a series of dungeon crawls and wild travels that led us through both nature caves and the Underdark. By the time we were about to go from a mining town in the mountain to an elaborate cave system that would eventually lead us to the Underdark and eventually various layers of hell, a woman joined the group. She was the only woman in the group. She would go on to play an ASMR wizard. Both the DM and another player, Halfling Warlock, had a crush on her. Halfling Warlock would leave the campaign a couple sessions later due to family issues across the country, so DM felt more comfortable making a move. I don't get the whole deal with there being a woman joining a D&D campaign, and everybody there is just like, oh, a woman, I have never seen one of those in my entire life. I must make a move. I can already see this is going down a bad road. Cool. He started out blatantly favoring her in-game, and then he started having NPCs hit on her, most of which were enemies at this point. Okay, so let's put ourselves in the DM's thought. Woman showed up to the table. Probably hasn't seen a woman or had much interaction with one his entire life. And immediately he's like, oh, I know the way to get to her. The best way to get to her is have the enemies who just stabbed her tell her she looks cute. For those of you who don't know, that's a bad idea. Okay, so the NPCs are hitting on her, most of which are enemies at this point in time. So this brings me down another rabbit hole of like, you're in a mine, your party is sneaking through, there's a tripwire that goes off, and all of a sudden an intellect devourer pops out and you just get a thought in your mind that says, your dress looks nice today. Oh my god. Back to the story. She seemed completely unmoved by any of this, so eventually he just asks her out to watch Netflix and eat Papa John's at his place. He asked her this at the table in front of everyone after the dungeon crawl ended. Oh, so uncomfortable. I don't like that at all. Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have relationships with people at your table, but what I am saying is never, ever, in any scenario, D&D or otherwise, ask somebody out publicly. It puts a social pressure on them for them to act. No. Don't do that. Don't ever do that. Ever. If they say no, no means no. I have a feeling this is going to take a bad turn. She politely rejects him and says she has a boyfriend, and he just kind of awkwardly stares at her like she is being so unreasonable for not dating him. The session then just kind of awkwardly ended. Understandably so. Now, for another piece of context of what will happen next, DM after that started obsessively stalking this girl's social media and finding out that her boyfriend was black. I sense a hint of racism coming. So, next session was probably the worst session of D&D I have ever played. He has us go to an ogre village called called Ogreger Village, and it was just filled with ogres he describes of having low IQ, pitch black skin, big fat lips, and a bone and a tribal watermelon pit. Oh my god. Okay. You ready? I'm not ready. Are you ready? I'm not ready. They also had harems of sexy human women as slaves who left their own men for exotic bestial men. Okay. After he finished describing this, we all sat in shock for a good minute, understandably so, until the girl he was into got up and slapped him and walked out. Yes! Hell yeah! That's what I wanted! Somebody needed to slap the shit out of this guy! Listen, violence is never okay, until it is, okay? That's just how it goes. Hell yeah. Yes. Yes! The rest of us were speechless until another player said, that was fucked up. And he just said, well, if I ain't getting laid, I may as... And he just said, well, if I ain't getting laid, I may as well be a dick at this point. Eventually, you just get fed up with female bullshit and stop giving a fuck. If anybody refers to anybody as female, don't trust a single word that comes out of their mouth at all. No. Oh my god. Fuck this dude. We started just getting up and leaving at this point, and he just said, yeah, go and tell the manager. I know I'm banned. Fuck it. I was done with this stupid fucking game anyway. And he just kind of angrily packed up and left the store too. I hate... oh my god. No. I hate it when guys do something completely messed up and they know the consequences of it and they think that, oh, you guys are the bad guys because of this. But if he's done with this game, this makes me extremely happy because there's one less bad DM out there. We never saw him again, thankfully, but unfortunately that poor girl never came back either. That's the downside, is because somebody's D&D experience was ruined because of one fucked up person. I don't like that at all. That sucks. This goes for anybody. There are bad D&D experiences out there, especially if it's your first experience. Just letting you know, it's not all like that. It's not. You just gotta find the right players and the right group. You will eventually enjoy it. I am of the full opinion that D&D is for everybody, and there are so many tools to make it accessible to so many people now. So if you have a bad experience, just don't be completely disheartened. It's not all like that. It's not all like that at all. All right, so that one sucked. That was absolutely horrible. Off to a great start. Next one. DM gets mad at me for not joining their new game after the last one got ruined by a returning player. This one's lighthearted. That's good. I'm part of a group that has been playing D&D for about 10 years together, and we've all DM'd at one point or another, but there is also one person who always runs a game. We sometimes do several games at once. Her games are normally really good, she has lots of experience, and her roleplay story and combat are all strong. I love playing in her games. Last campaign they ran, however, got cancelled right before the final arc of the game following a tantrum by one of the players. I won't be super specific because then my friends will know this is me, but basically the player in question went on a huge tirade at me during a session or something super minor. The player has also been pretty annoying up to this point, this character constantly disagreeing with the rest of the party and making selfish decisions that hurt others. I will not be yelled at and spoke to in that way at the table, so when they did this, I left the table. Understandably so. Good for you. Don't put up with disrespect, ever. Never put up with disrespect. Yeah. God, player has also been pretty annoying up until this point. This character constantly disagreeing with the rest of the party, making selfish decisions that hurt others. Okay, so that sounds like main character syndrome. Main character syndrome definitely happens at a table. It's not fun at all. And the worst part is when you point out that somebody has main character syndrome and they abhorrently disagree that they don't have main character syndrome, or disagree that they do have main character syndrome. Words are words. They work. So yeah, like, leave the table, and then, like, I would recommend having a discussion after this, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So, later, the group decided to have an intervention and tell them that this behavior was not okay. Tell them! Yes! Everyone agreed that what they did was wrong, and some people told them about their frustrations with how they've been playing their character. Good, I'm glad. They decided to quit the game after this, so we tried to continue the game. Hell yeah, cut off the dead weight! If they are so set in their mindset that they're like, they take this as a personal attack rather than an expressing of feelings, then yeah, get rid of them. Yeah, they quit the game. That's good. That's a good thing. But the player lives with the GM, and every time we would play or we would mention the game, the player would have a tantrum or go off in a huff. Oh, uncomfy, uncomfy, no. I found out later they would also rant to the GM about it and blame them. It was incredibly taxing emotionally for the GM and made them cry several times. No, that's horrible. That's absolutely awful. What's lighthearted about this? This isn't lighthearted at all so far. This is just somebody emotionally manipulating a group of people. I'm just imagining them playing and the guy that quit is just peeking around the corner like, you suck so much. This guy sounds like the worst type of people that are told that they did something wrong and then adamantly believe that they did something right, so all they have left to do is complain to other people's about it. I'm not the main character in the video game, and that makes me sad, and it's your fault, DM, because you're the one who created this game. It's ridiculous. Because the emotional strain became too much with the constant tantrums, guilt tripping, and rants, the GM had to cancel the game. Yeah, that sounds about right. Several months later, the GM wants to start a new game. They message me asking if I want to join. I'd love to. As I said, I love this GM's games. But before saying yes, I ask who else will be playing. Then say that the player who ruined the last game will be playing, so I decline. Understandably so. I wouldn't want to play with that person either. That sounds horrible. They ask why, and I tell them that I refuse to be in another game with that player because of the last game. The GM got mad at me for not trusting them as a GM. It's not about not trusting you as a GM. It's about that person being a bad person. You're awesome. The person is not. What I would do in this scenario is I would talk with the GM and be like, hey, is everything good? Are you okay? You know they ruined the last game. They made you cry on several occasions. They had nothing but sling insults at you, blaming you for their problems. Like, do you need help? Got it. I was very confused by their response, but whatever. My answer is no. I am sad I will not be able to play in this game, and I really enjoy their GMing style and their stories, but I refuse to put myself in that situation to get verbally abused again. Edit to answer, no, they are not in a relationship with the DM, they just live together. Got it. Yeah, that sucks. That's not lighthearted at all. Why the hell does this have the lighthearted tag? I don't. Yeah, no, that just sucks. That just sucks. Because the player is obviously manipulating the DM and gaslighting the ever-living shit out of them. And saying that it was the GM's fault, and now they're trying to get everybody back into the game and play with them, all the while believing that they're the ones that did something wrong. And oh god, that's horrible. The manipulation at this point in time is overwhelming. All right, on to the next. Good one to end it on. The Case of the Magical Bowstring, aka the story of the worst campaign I ever joined. That's all right. We're in for this. Is a long one. Fantastic. I have dropped out of exactly one D&D game in my 23 years of playing, and this is that story. It was 2008, and I've been playing often with my friend Andrew. Several times he talked about his main campaign that he ran for 4 of his high school friends and how much fun they had. Intrigued, I asked to join and was invited in. At this point, they'd been playing for a year and were level 12. I opted to play a Ranger Scout, and since we were starting at high level, I asked what magic items I could have. Andrew said I could have a single +1 weapon and 1 other minor magic item. That's reasonable. Personally, I would give them a little bit more. I mean, this was 2008, 3.5 was out, which means in all technicality, there was a chart in the 3.5 Dungeon Master's Guide to show what your starting gold would be at that level. And you could spend that on magic items because the magic items also had a gold price associated with it. So that seems kind of low to me personally. But if this is some sort of other campaign sort of deal, like each DM has their own thing, but like that's just low to me. I picked a +1 longbow and a magical quiver. So oh god, what was the quiver's name? Oh, wait. What was the quiver's name? One sec. Yes, the Quiver of Ilona. This appears to be a typical arrow container capable of holding about 20 arrows. It has 3 distinct portions with a non-dimensional space allowing to store more than it would normally be possible. The first is the smallest one, can contain up to 60 objects of the same general size and shape as an arrow. The second, slightly longer compartment holds up to 18 objects the same general size and shape as a javelin. The third and longest portion of the case contains as many as 6 objects as the same general size and shape as a bow, spears, staffs, or the like. Once the owner has filled it, the quiver can produce any item she wishes, as if from a regular quiver or scabbard. The Quiver of Ilona weighs up to the same no matter what is placed inside of it. When I first got into D&D, I played 3.5. I was creating a bunch of characters that had like really weird, quirky stuff that had combos and things like that because I was that type of kid. ADHD really does stuff to you. Yeah, I built a character that had the quiver. So this character was a ranger wizard that kept javelin spikes in his quiver. The whole thing is that they were shrunk down to be the size of an arrow, and I would pull them out and shoot them from my bow and dispel the decreased size on it, and so they would be hit with a javelin arrow, doing like 10d6 damage with each arrow. Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun time. Nonetheless, back to the story. This seemed odd, but figured it must be a low magic campaign. Okay, they also caught it. Got it. I show up to the first session and everything seems fine at first. We introduce my character and engage in some light roleplay. Then I learned that 2 of the players still had their original characters, the cleric and the wizard, while the other 2 had gone through several throughout the campaign. Red flag. Nothing odd there necessarily, but then I learned that the wizard and cleric had used this as an opportunity to hoard all the dead characters' magic items, as well as all the relevant plot hooks. Oh, they're killing them. They're killing the players. Oh, God. This is like a horror story. RPG horror stories. Makes sense. But, like, you know what I get. It doesn't matter. Since the DM didn't like the characters starting with magic items, this meant that cleric and wizard had tons of magic items between the 2 of them, while the rest of us had a smattering of +1 weapons and trinkets. Also, because cleric and wizard had the only relevant plot hook, it meant that the rest of us were apparently unimportant. Oh, so you've got like a heavy duty damage character and the only character that is allowed to heal people and bring them back. I'm making a prediction. Either they're killing them and taking their magic items and just seeing what the other characters are making, or they are amassing the magic items and the cleric and wizard are staying out of combat and then refusing to bring them back to life when they do. Because they're level 12, so they must have some sort of, I don't think Revivify was a spell. I'm not sure. You're going to have to fact check me on that. But they must have had some way to bring them back, Any course of action I suggested that they didn't like was met with, "We don't know you, so you can just leave if you don't like it." This applied not only to me, but the other 2 players as well. Through all of this, Andrew kept completely silent and seemed content to let it play out. Either the GM is oblivious or the GM doesn't like confrontation, because this is a no-no. This is really bad. Like, you need to promote inclusivity. Like, even though they're new, they're helpful. So you gotta play nice. You gotta play nice in the sandbox. After the first session, I listened to the other players to complain about the situation for over an hour after the wizard and cleric left. I agreed to attempt some pushback and they would back me up. This was all done in the presence of Andrew, who seemed to understand the situation. When I attempted to follow through with the plan, the other players and the DM simply watched it happen and nothing was done. And we continued on with the wizard and cleric show after being told once again that my character could just leave if I didn't like their decisions. I was dumbfounded. Nobody had backed me up like they said they would. So here's what I would do. All right, so they're refreshing characters. They're running through them like crazy, right? So he's Ranger accidentally takes an arrow to the knee. You know what I mean? Goes down. Dead. Kaput. Done. What you do is what I like to call a little bit of evil metagaming. Is you come in with a rogue who has a maxed out sleight of hand, and you come in there, and this rogue, he's got a thing for shiny trinkets. He's a little bit of a klepto. Catch my drift. He just steals all the magic items one at a time. They can't do shit about it. They don't know nothing. And if they say something about it, you know their plan all along. Evil tip of the day. The last straw was when we finally got to our first dungeon as a party. During the second combat, I rolled a nat 1 on an attack, so Andrew says my bowstring has broken. Okay, critical failures are a shitty house rule, but whatever. Me personally, I would have said that you misfired your bow and your hand, keeping the tension, came back and smacked you in the face. You know what I mean? That would have been funny. But broken bowstring, nah, don't like that. But whatever, I can finish the fight with javelins and restoring my bow after the fight. We cleaned up the remaining enemies, and I told the DM I was going to restring my bow. This is when he decided to tell me that I couldn't restring my bow because it's a magic bow and therefore requires a magic bowstring. Oh god, yeah, no, that just kind of seals the deal that Tommy is in on this. The DM is definitely in on this. I argued that a magic bowstring probably shouldn't be able to break then, but I was told that I rolled a nat 1, so that's what happened. I complained that I was an archer and he had just taken away one of the only 2 magic items he gave me. He didn't care and everyone seemed to think it was funny. I tried to carry on, but after that I was done and exited from the game. Good for you. It just goes to show how group dynamics can be so different from one table to the next. In all our other games, Andrew had been very fun and reasonable, but around his high school friends, it was a different story. I hate people who are still in that high school mentality, like they just revert back to their high school selves when they get around those friends. That is so ridiculous. We grow and evolve as humans, and chances are you grew out of that personality for a reason. God, that sucks. I would have a talk with Tommy after that and just be like, hey bro, the fuck. All 3 of those were pretty bad. The first one was horrible. That was my least favorite out of all of them. Not good. Not good. That was some RPG horror stories, some D&D horror stories from Reddit. Let me know if you like it. Let me know if you want to see another one. Stick around. Hit the subscribe button if you like what you see and you want to see more of it. I'd love to have you around. I'm going to be making some more content, putting it out regularly. So with that, I will bid you adieu. I will say goodbye, auf Wiedersehen, and I'll catch you in the next one. All right. See y'all. Bye.